Well, as the city clock strikes 1 o'clock, a very warm welcome to St Peter Mancroft Church. I'm Edward Carter, the vicar here. And if you're here enjoying the church building, do please continue with your visit, just sitting quietly or having a look around. But every Wednesday at 1 o'clock we have a short reflection, which is also live streamed to YouTube. So a welcome if you're watching on YouTube or catching up later on. This week is Holy Week. That's what Christians call this week, which runs up to Easter Day. And it's a holy week for Christians around the world because we remember especially the way that Jesus died some 2,000 years ago. And we don't just remember it as a thing that happened a long time ago, something lost to the sands of time. We remember it as an event that somehow mysteriously reveals something very important about God, about love, and also about life, the gift of life, and what life is for us. And of course I'm a vicar, so the story of Holy Week is very, very familiar to me. For years and years and years I've lived and prayed my way through Holy Week. I know the story really as well as any story. But yesterday, here in this very church, I had a new insight as to some of the depth of meaning and richness of this week, this Holy Week. And the story really begins earlier than yesterday, begins about a month ago when I bumped into someone here in the church, here in the heart of Norwich. There's a lady called Deborah Shipley, an artist, and she came into the church and I was here, and as with many other visitors I smiled and welcomed her warmly to the church, and we got chatting away about her work as an artist. And she then said to me, well, actually some of my work is on display at the cathedral here in Norwich, which is a shortish walk away. Would you like to see it? Why don't we walk down there now? And I didn't have anything else immediately to do otherwise, so I said that would be lovely. And we walked down to the cathedral, talking as we went about the amazing Grenfell memorial quilts that we'd seen here in this church that were hanging there at that moment. But as we walked down, we shared a few stories of our own lives, and Deborah told me a bit about her work as an artist. And in particular her recent work, and this was the display at the cathedral, which is an exhibition of bowls. Bowls that, not in fact these ones, you can't eat from them, but bowls that are a lovely reminder really of the importance of the food that we eat. And Deborah was making these bowls out of reclaimed paper, junk mail really. She just uses bits of junk mail that arrive through her letterbox and fashions them into amazing bowls. And as we went to the cathedral, we looked at them and they were amazing. They were very engaging, strangely beautiful, and there were quite a number displayed at the cathedral. And then Deborah, the artist, said to me, well, I'd love to display them at your church as well. And I said, well, that would be great. And that's what's happened. Yesterday, Deborah was here again, and we arranged, as I look across just to my right there, we arranged a display cabinet with some of her amazing bowls in them. It was lovely to see her installing them all here yesterday. And her exhibition, or the display, is entitled Bowls in a Fragile World. When she started evolving the technique to make these bowls, she decided to use recycled materials, recycled paper. And you know what junk mail is like. It's got little plastic bits for the window that the address shows through, and all sorts of gubbins come with your junk mail. And she wanted to try and remove all those impurities, so it was just paper. But she realised, and there's an information board with the display explaining this in more detail, she realised that she couldn't really remove all the impurities, the bits of plastic and other things. In a way, that pollution was intrinsic to the material she was working with. And so she gave up trying to remove it because she just couldn't. And then she realised, as she described this to me, she realised that this impurity, if you like, was actually part of the story of these bowls that she was making, and a parable of the pollution that's affecting the world in which we live. But she also discovered that she could add various organic matter, leaves, petals, other things that she found around, natural things. And so she added them also to the technique she was evolving to make these beautiful and very fragile bowls. And as she described to me, these leaves and petals and other things, they were a reminder within her art of the vulnerability of the environment as well, how fragile it is. And the overall effect, and I do hope if you have a chance you'll come and see the bowls here at the church, they're here for a month or so, the overall effect is one of both being that natural feel, quite organic in look they are, but also affected, polluted if you like, by the bits of plastic, all the things that we human beings have kind of imposed upon the world. And the bowl shape, I asked her about that, and she said, as I hinted earlier, that the bowl shape was very important to her as well. A kind of echo of our basic need for sustenance, our basic need for food, which comes from the natural world around us. Anyway, as part of the display materials, Deborah writes a sentence that in a way kind of sums up the whole thing. And this is what she writes: "The bowls you see are symbolic of both human need and human potential to help. The bowls you see are symbolic of both human need and human potential to help." And that simple sentence has been resonating with me actually since I saw it at the cathedral, but now since I read it here at the church as well from yesterday. As I reflected on what Deborah, the artist who's made these bowls, was trying to say, I began to realise that actually this was a message for Holy Week. As I said at the start of my reflection, this is Holy Week. This is the week when we remember the story of Jesus going up to his death. Because Holy Week, just like the bowls, really is a true and a real story of our human need for God, our human need for God's presence, our human need for God's grace and forgiveness, that need that we have, basic human need, for God to carry our burdens and our failings, if you like, carrying them away, lifting them away, our sins nailed to the cross is another way that Christians would put it. So just as Deborah spoke about her bowls being symbolic of human need, so Holy Week really speaks to our human need for God. But also, Deborah and her bowls speak of that human potential, the human potential to help others, to be part of the life of this world in a positive and creative way. And I believe that Holy Week is also very much part of that story, a true and real story of God's with us, God's image in us. Somehow we, despite our failings, have a call as humans to be Christ-like. That's part of what Christians believe. We have a call to, as we accept God, somehow to mirror all that is good about God in the world, echoing God wherever we go, mirroring God's purposes and presence in the world, somehow carrying that potential to help, to play our part in the world because of God's grace. So Deborah Shipley and her bowls in her exhibition and display are symbolic of both human need and human potential to help, yes. And I believe Holy Week, the Christian story brought to its heart in a way, Holy Week is symbolic also both of our human need and also our human potential. Last Sunday morning we read the Passion narrative, the story, if you like, of Holy Week. The arrival of Jesus into Jerusalem, Palm Sunday, all the different things that happened through that week, the betrayal of Jesus, his arrest, in the end his death on the cross, and him being laid in the tomb. Holy Week speaks of our human need, yes, but also our human potential to help, woven into that story that is at the heart of the Christian faith. And the good news of the Christian faith is that God does come to meet us in our need for him, in our need for mercy and forgiveness, in our need for God's grace. But God also comes to be with us, filling us with potential to be a blessing. Just as God blesses richly, so too by his grace, we as human beings can be a blessing in our lives, a blessing to others, as we are filled with those gifts that come from God. So thank you for listening to my short Holy Week reflection from St Peter Mancroft Church here in the heart of Norwich. The exhibition of bowls by Deborah Shipley will be here for a number of weeks. Do come and visit them if you're able to. Above all else, I pray that God may bless you, may bless us all this Holy Week as we journey with Jesus to the cross, yes, but also to the joys of Easter. Thank you.